Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. So it's NBA trade season right now. It's been lame as hell up until the making this video here, bro. Like, straight man, like, there's been no trades going on. I think Willie Cauley-Stein got traded to the Mavericks. That's all that's been going on, man. Before today's video, we're gonna step away from bitch-ass trades. Ain't shit happening in that department, man. We got a video by Austin Sweat. The 8 craziest NBA free agency signings that almost happened. Yeah, we're going to watch this and see just how exactly maybe some of these signings would have really affected where the NBA is at today. Let's get to it.
We've looked at the craziest NBA trades that almost happened but didn't quite go through, but today we're looking at the craziest free agency signings.
Okay.
Where a
That never
player
happened,
was going to or could have signed with a team, but something came up and it ended up not happening. If you thought some of the failed trades I've talked about were crazy, some of these are even better. Now, in the NBA as we know it, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh teamed up on the Heat in 2010 and created one of the greatest big threes in NBA history. But it was a very real possibility that could have been Carmelo Anthony instead of Chris Bosh.
I don't know if that shit would have worked, man. I don't know if that shit would have worked, bro. Like, straight up, man. Like Chris Bosh, the thing about him is that he was able to sacrifice for that third role. That Melo would not have done it. And it would have been the wrong player, you know, probably Dwayne Wade sacrifice. But did I sacrifice it? I don't know when it worked.
And it should have been too. The four of them all got drafted in 2003, so the rookie contracts all ended in 2006. And James, Wade, and Bosh all made the smart business move, signing 3-year deals, knowing that there would eventually be a lockout that would earn them more money.
Wait, they knew that?
Carmelo said he didn't understand the business side of things, and that he wasn't going to turn down a 5-year contract to take a 3-year. And he should have for a few reasons, because it would have made him more money, and by 2010 he already wanted out of Denver anyways and requested a trade.
He's extremely financially sound now. Big time investor.
Which meant that LeBron, Wade, and Bosh's actual contracts were up. And it was James and Wade that decided to team up first, and they brought Chris Bosh along because he was the best option available. But you gotta believe that if Carmelo Anthony was available, they would have recruited one of their closest friends.
Bro, that shit would have been weird, man.
And instead of the Heat's original big three, we would have seen one very different. And that makes you wonder, would the team have had the same success?
I don't think so.
Would the Miami Heat have still won on a near record 27-game win streak? Would they have still made 4 straight NBA finals and won 2 of them? Or would they have also beaten the Mavs and the Spurs and won 4 straight NBA championships? I mean, personally, there's no question that they wouldn't have been as good. I mean, Melo did have the perfect skill set for it. He was a great shooter that could stretch the floor and play small ball how they did. And we also saw how long...
Yeah, the man could stretch the floor. And you guys, I love Carmelo Anthony. I'm not trying to hate on Carmelo Anthony or anything like that. I just know that, you know, hindsight, you looking at it, and it's just like yes, Melo does not like to play off ball. That's why he didn't work out for Houston. That's why he didn't work out in OKC. And if he's playing the Miami Heat, he would have wanted that ball in his hands. But the ball's in his hands, it's not LeBron James's. So yeah, I just don't think I don't think it would have worked out.
It took Melo to actually accept a lighter role on a team. So I really don't think he would have been able to do it back in 2010. Plus, having Bosh as one of the traditional big men that could also stretch the floor really worked out perfectly.
Yeah, he kind of added that later to his game,
never ended up in Miami. As we know, though, he instead played for the Knicks during his prime and never won a championship. He had a chance to change that though when he was a part of some very serious discussions to sign with the Chicago Bulls in 2014. And I really think Melo would have been the perfect fit with them. The Bulls at the time had the best defense in the league and a starting lineup of Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng, Taj Gibson, and
replace freaking Taj.
The only thing they were missing was some extra offense.
Damn.
So insert Anthony at, say, power forward.
Hell yeah.
I think they would have been the perfect starting 5.
No, I'm gonna go Luol at the 4 spot, go Melo at the 3.
And on paper it looks great. It was something a lot of people wanted to see, but honestly we can't blame Melo here. The Knicks were offering him a 5-year deal with $120 million, and that was $50 million more than the Bulls were able to offer him. And don't forget, Rose was still recovering and sitting out a good amount of games with his knee injuries. So he ended up signing with New York, and after that, things didn't go very well for either team. Backing up a little bit though to the 2010 free agency where LeBron decided to join D-Wade in Miami, there was also some very serious discussions that went on between both men about joining Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls.
Yo, that would have been, oh my god, man.
They both agreed that they loved the city. It was one of the biggest markets. They had 2 max contract spots, and they already had a young D-Rose, Luol Deng, and Joakim Noah. It's weird though because Wade said on a podcast that the thing that kept him from signing there was the fact that they wouldn't have been able to bring in Chris Bosh. I mean, Bosh was an all-star at this point, and Derrick Rose hadn't won an MVP, but Rose had just...
Trade Joakim Noah. LeBron don't like him anyway.
Put up 27 and 7
go.
against LeBron in the last postseason before their decision. So they knew just how good he was, and it's weird that they'd pick Bosh over him. A couple of things though if they did pick Chicago. With that team, they definitely would have won some championships, but it's probably better that they didn't, because we would have never got to see Derrick Rose become the league's youngest MVP, and the Bulls wouldn't have had enough money left over to offer him the max extension that they originally did in 2011.
Well, I would have liked to hope though that maybe if he would have played those guys, you know, by virtue of the butterfly effect, maybe Derrick Rose wouldn't have had all those injuries.
Or he got injured for the first time 6 months later. So he also wouldn't have gotten paid, James and Wade wouldn't have had their third star, and Derrick would have gotten injured before we ever got to see his true potential.
He might not have
so
got injured though.
Best this all didn't happen. Now Wade
Ashton
also
Kutcher,
said on the
Butterfly
podcast
Effect.
that
Great
the two
movie.
of them did consider joining the Knicks, but they had no stars or anything good going on at the time, so it's not really worth getting into. But speaking of the Knicks, Michael Jordan did almost really join them and Patrick Ewing during the 1996 free agency.
MJ would never done that.
And this is an interesting one
Hell
if you
no.
hadn't heard of it.
Hell no,
because
don't
in
believe it.
96, we're talking about right after Jordan and the Bulls went 72-10 and won their 4th championship. Michael Jordan's contract was up, and he was basically a restricted free agent. The previous year, the Knicks had just given Patrick Ewing an $18 million one-year deal to show them that they appreciated him and to make up for him being underpaid in the past. And the Bulls were planning to do basically the same
Would somebody appreciate me $18 million
thing for Jordan.
You know, I'm just going to say that real quick.
And gonna give him a $20 million
We appreciate
deal.
you. 18
and they weren't worried because the most another team could offer MJ was $10, maybe $15 million. But the New York Knicks found a loophole. They had $12 million in cap space, but the team was owned partly by a hotel company named ITT Sheraton. And if Jordan had signed with the Knicks, they planned to pay MJ $13 million to be the spokesperson for their company for the year. Now, the NBA usually doesn't allow this at all, but at the time it was possible if it can be shown that the player's market value as a spokesman is that high. And in the case of Michael Jordan, he was well worth that kind of money for any company. Plus, it helped that the New York Knicks were David Stern's favorite team, so he allowed this to go through. The offer was for $25 million.
The commissioner allowed to have a favorite team? That just seems like that should not be allowed. You like the guy that leads the NBA should not be able to be like, yeah, that's my favorite team over there.
And
just gonna point that out.
Friends and family said that he would have never walked away from the Bulls and that this was just a way for him to get more money. But Chicago had only 24 hours to respond with an offer, and they weren't gonna take that risk, so they gave him a $30 million contract.
Hey, there we go.
Was
it's all
half
good.
of the team's entire salary cap for the year, and it was well worth it because, as we know, the Bulls would go on to win 2 more championships, and the Knicks wouldn't. If they would have let him walk though, just imagine Patrick Ewing and Michael Jordan winning the NBA championship in 1997 and maybe even 98, ruining the Chicago Bulls' legacy with one sketchy offer. Another franchise's legacy that would have been completely altered with one signing is the Golden State Warriors.
Bro, my bitch ass voice is all freaking crackling.
Without Kevin Durant, but there's no denying that KD joining the team gave them guaranteed success and changed the stigma around the team. And none of that almost ever happened, because KD actually came pretty close to signing with the Boston Celtics in 2016 instead of the Warriors. Now, I don't remember hearing too much about Boston being a real candidate, but apparently they really were, and Celtics co-owner said that he believed they lost in the finals of the KD sweepstakes. They met with Durant during the 4th of July weekend and brought in a bunch of their front office members, along with Tom Brady.
Durant took one look at Isaiah Thomas and was like, hell no, man. I'm going to go play as Steph Curry.
to help try and convince him. And it almost worked. Kevin said that he told himself, all right, let's go, let's do this, after he met Brady. And right at the same time, Al Horford joined Isaiah Thomas in Boston, to the point where KD told Horford that he was definitely considering joining them. So no real word on just how close this was to actually happening, but in KD's words, it was pretty close. And just imagine if he had. IT may have never gotten injured, may still be a top point guard in the NBA today, and they may have even won a championship.
They would trade his ass for Kyrie still. And it would have been Kyrie and KD just bringing us now in Brooklyn
together. Or maybe Thomas still does get injured, and they still trade him to the Cavs for Kyrie Irving, which would have made Kevin and Kyrie teammates a lot faster. And they also would have had a real chance at a championship with the both of them on the Celtics. LeBron could have won more than one championship against the Warriors without KD in the finals, or he could have won none of them thanks to getting knocked out of the East by KD and the Celtics. And how good would the Warriors have continued to be without Kevin? A lot of unanswered questions
they would have got somebody
that are all
else.
Brought up thanks to one decision made by one skinny man.
A lot of money
We
freed
got
up
some
still.
more insight though on another Snakes free agency decision when Kobe Bryant almost went to the Chicago Bulls. Now the popular story here is that he demanded a trade there in 2007, but it never ended up working out. But there was a time before that where he was even closer to ending up in a Bulls uniform, when in 2004 the Lakers had just lost in the finals to the Pistons, and Shaq and himself couldn't coexist any longer. And Kobe reportedly had a few meetings with the Clippers, where during one he told then owner Donald,
I love my 2004 Detroit Pistons, but it's just hard for me to feel proud of that championship now, man. I'm just like still so numb about Kobe Bryant, so I'm not really saying a lot about him. Sorry, guys.
Sterling, don't worry,
Just
I'm a
listening
Clipper,
currently.
and told another employee that he had verbally committed to the team. But apparently either the stories out there are false, or he just flat out changed his mind at some point, because the Bulls were the other rumored destination for him. And a couple years ago, Kobe said in an interview with Shaq that him and his wife had looked at schools and
Excuse
houses
me,
in
guys.
Chicago,
Damn,
and that they were
man.
about to plan to meet with the owners of the team, then move there right after. That was until Kobe got a call that Shaq had requested a trade, and he knew that the Lakers
Who was
weren't
on
about
that
to let
Bulls
both
team?
of them go in the same offseason, so he knew that he was staying. But if Shaq hadn't have
Andreas,
requested that
Nocioni's?
trade and would have stayed in LA, Kobe would have been in Chicago and things would have been a lot different. It's tough to say how things would have turned out though, because
Kirk
the Bulls'
Heinrich,
top
right?
players at the time were guys like Eddie Curry and Kirk Heinrich.
Yo, Kirk was
and
a
they
beast!
didn't have any stars, but honestly it didn't matter,
Captain
because Kobe said
Kirk.
the only thing that
Come
he
on
wanted
now.
to do was win a championship without Shaq, to prove that he didn't need him to do so. And even on the Bulls, I'm sure Kobe would have got it done. Another team that may have been able to get it done was the Dallas Mavericks. They won the championship in 2011, and
Yep.
the team kind of fell off after that. But it was because they were willing to let some of their better veteran
Dirk was
players
getting
walk
older-ish,
in order to bring in a star or two
kinda.
down the line.
Yeah.
It never ended up happening, but it really almost did. Because in 2013, both Dwight Howard and Chris Paul were going to be free agents. And they supposedly had both agreed behind closed doors that they were going to sign with the Mavs in the 2013
Would have been a
offseason.
nasty duo.
At the time, Dwight had just played his one
Trio.
year for the Lakers, and Chris Paul was just finishing out his contract that he signed before he had gotten to the Clippers. Both players agreed to this, but when it came time to switch teams, it said that Dwight backed out at the last minute and instead signed with the Houston Rockets, which caused CP3 to re-sign with the Clippers. Both situations never resulted in a championship or
Yeah,
even
Dwight
a
Howard
finals
fell off till now,
appearance,
though.
but maybe a starting five of Chris Paul, Monte Ellis, Sean Marion, Dirk Nowitzki, and Dwight Howard could have. The window for winning would have been pretty small thanks to Marion and Dirk's age, but for the couple of strong years that they would have had with a lineup like this, it would have made for a lot
Monte
of
would have played nice
offense,
with
a
CP3.
lot of defense, and a pretty solid bench. And they'd make for some pretty tough competition for the Spurs who won it all in 2014, and even for the Warriors in 2015. Now, I don't know that they could have beaten either of those two teams, but it's still a fun discussion to have. Another free agent that almost changed teams and would have altered every single thing about the NBA since the year 2000 was the fact that Tim Duncan almost left the Spurs when his rookie contract was up to join the Orlando Magic.
Wow, yeah, I heard about
Tracy
this
McGrady
one.
was on the team and Grant Hill had just joined it.
Oh,
T-Mac
man.
said, once Grant and I get here, this will definitely be the city.
Bro, that would've
The
been
East is
sick,
locked
bro.
up. And if Tim Duncan comes here, it's gonna be scary.
Oh my
We'll be playing
God.
the Lakers for years. And Duncan has said that he was extremely close to joining the team. But what Grant Hill, McGrady, and a lot of other people involved with the situation feel like was the moment that changed Tim's mind was at a dinner meeting where Duncan asked if players' spouses were allowed on the team playing, and Doc Rivers, who coached the team at the time, said no. And the entire mood of the dinner
What? What a stupid ass reason. I'm not saying for Tim Duncan's sake. I'm saying, Doc Rivers, like straight up, just if that means getting Tim Duncan, I'm sure. I know at the time, Tim Duncan was still great at the time, because he was good in his entire career. But you still make that exception, man. Oh my God. Like, what's the issue?
changed after that. I mean, just think, if he would have made one simple rule change to land one of the best power forwards in the NBA, who, keep in mind, at the time was only 24 years old, they would have had a big three of Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, and Tim Duncan. I mean, it would have been more of a duo rather than a big three, because over the 7 years that Grant played for the Magic, he only averaged 28 games a season.
You might say he was over the hill
because of injuries, so he really would have been out of the equation. But still, a duo of T-Mac, who was scoring 30 points a game every season at the time, plus a young Tim Duncan, would have definitely been championship worthy. And
for sure.
That's gonna wrap up the video.
Alright, that's the end of it there, guys. Damn, a lot of great what-if moments that almost happened. Makes you kind of wish you could have seen a few of them.